Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this early morning episode of Ignition Time. I have my coffee with me here. Let me have a sip. I'm actually just waking up, so if I sound a little groggy, forgive me. Folks, I have some good news. The Vice President of the United States showed up at 5 a.m. this morning to cast a tie-breaking vote for the passage of the budget resolution through the Senate. Now, in this video, folks, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened in the United States Senate. All of them pulled an all-nighter. There were 15 hours of debates, and they did an all-nighter. Now, look, I know that a lot of us are frustrated with the way the government works, but folks, an all-nighter, a 15-hour all-nighter. And many of these senators are over 80 years old, so we got to give them some credit, right, folks? But I'm going to give you some important news about what exactly happened, what this means for the $1.9 trillion package, when we can expect to see the $1.9 trillion package, when we can expect to see the checks, who's likely to get the checks. This is going to be a very loaded episode of Ignition Time. I appreciate you. Let's just jump right into this important episode of Ignition Time. This is breaking news because this just happened. The Vice President of the United States was in the Senate chamber at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm here with my coffee trying to wake up for you. This is breaking news from Ignition Time. Good morning, folks. I hope you have your coffee or something with you. I can now report to you that the Senate has voted and paved the way for the passage of the $1.9 trillion economic relief plan, the American Rescue Plan. Now, for those of you who want the bottom line, I'll give you the bottom line, but I encourage you to watch the video all the way through to the end because you'll understand the mechanics and you'll understand exactly what's going to happen. You want the bottom line? Let me straight away give you the bottom line. Now that this package has been passed, so there are three committees in the House of Representatives. There's the House Committee, there's the Budget Committee, there's the Rules Committee. Don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep. Now what's going to happen is next week, the House Committee is going to be starting the work on the framework, on creating the bill. And then they will do some work, and then that work will get kicked over to the Budget Committee the following week. Now, when I say the following week, now I'm talking about not next week, but the week after next, sort of getting into the third week of February, right? And then the Budget Committee will do what they have to do and kick their work over to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee will prepare the vote for the floor of the House. Got it? House Committee, Budget Committee, Rules Committee. Now, the House Committee, like I said, will start the work. Then the following week, second week of February, they'll pass on their work to the Budget Committee. The Budget Committee will do the work and kick it over to the Rules Committee. These are all committees within the United States House of Representatives, and by this time it'll be the end of the month, the end of February. The Rules Committee will then prepare the bill, will prepare the final version of the bill, and then will present it to the House of Representatives for a vote. So, for the next 2 weeks, there is going to be no vote in the House of Representatives. Some of this reporting comes from Punchbowl News. And then towards the end of this month is when the House of Representatives, meaning that House and Senate, right? House is a part of the Congress. The House will then get together and vote on the $1.9 trillion package at the end of this month. Then it'll go to the Senate. It's pretty clear that there'll be 51 votes in the Senate. Why? Because there were 51 votes. There was 51 votes in the Senate this morning to pass a budget resolution, including the first ever tie-breaking vote from the President of the United States, Kamala Harris. So, folks, long story short, the $1.9 trillion package will be drafted in the next two weeks, maybe no more than 3 weeks. By the end of this month, it'll pass the House. Hopefully, in the first week of March, it'll pass the Senate. And then, the moment it goes to President Biden, he signs it, bam, it becomes law. The goal for the Democrats is to do this before the unemployment benefit the unemployment benefits run out on the 14th of March. That is the goal for Democrats. And at this pace, at the pace at which they're going, they will achieve that goal. We all remember what happened last year. Things expired in July, then the two sides, were arguing and there were shenanigans and then we had all the drama. Right now, what's happening is it's almost like a smooth train going forward, and the Democrats are doing this without a single Republican vote. So, that is, and as far as the $1,400 stimulus checks are concerned, There was a 99 to 1 vote in the Senate yesterday. It is non-binding. I'm going to repeat this again. It's non-binding, that the meaning that it's not yet confirmed. But come on, guys, 99 votes for, 1 against. What does that tell you? That tells you it's going to get confirmed when it comes up for another vote. Because what see, folks, what's happened here is that the framework has been created. In 2 weeks, the actual bill will be voted on. 2 to 3 weeks, the actual bill will be voted on in the House. Once it's drafted by the House committee, then goes through the budget committee, then goes through the rules committee. Because it's a massive package, folks. It's a $1.9 trillion. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Should they do it tomorrow? Should I just snap my fingers and make it happen now? Yeah, but that's not how that's not how our government works. But folks, it is clear based on the 99 to 1 vote this was the Manchin-Collins amendment to the targeting of the stimulus package. It's clear that those making under $50,000 a year single filers will get the full $1,400, and if you make up to 75, the amount gets reduced, and if you make over 75, then that amount gets phased out completely. And if you're married, those numbers start at 100,000. So, folks, let's wait till this becomes a bill that gets signed into law. Then I'll dig into the actual specifics. Right now, we are at step 1. Think of it like this: step 1, budget resolution passed, done, check. Step 2, the bill is drafted. Now, the way the bill is drafted is, like I said, House committee, budget committee, rules committee, which now that process begins now. That process begins now. Next week, the House committee works. They then prepare a bunch of paperwork, send it over to the budget committee the following week, second week of February, and then the budget committee works and kicks it over to the rules committee in the third week of February. February is a shorter month, and then in the last week of February, when the House comes back to vote, they'll be like, "Where's the bill? Where's the bill? Where's the bill?" And then the rules committee then says, "Here's the bill," and then the House looks at it, they debate, they argue, they vote on it, goes to the Senate, gets the 50 votes from the Democrats. Vice President Kamala Harris comes in, does a tie-breaking vote. This will all happen at the end of the month. And then that becomes law, and then the stimulus continues. So, folks, this is a big step. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I wouldn't celebrate until the bill passes both the House and the Senate. At that point, I'll put out a video saying, "Great news, stimulus check approved." I'm not going to do that with these videos like some other kooky channels. But let's get into the actual news, everyone. The Senate approved a budget bill this morning, folks, and this paves the way for the passage of the $1.9 trillion plan. And this passage, folks, passed 51 for, 50 against. All 50 Democrats voted to pass this budget resolution. This happened at 5:30 a.m. this morning. The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, showed up in the Senate chamber at 5 a.m. this morning after an all-night Senate session where the senators debated for 15 plus hours, folks. They debated for 15 plus hours. And, the Democrats cheered, the progress to address the pandemic, and the Republicans complained on and on and on about all the excessive spending. So the House will approve its own version of this, which they have already approved on the House is now going to start to take action, like I said, on what the Senate passed. That's why I mentioned the House committee, the budget committee, the rules committee. They're all going to swing into action. And now Congress will start writing. Folks, the way stimulus works is there's a proposal, then there's a bill, and there is a law. So the proposal has passed both the House and the Senate. Now a bill will be written, and it will be passed in both the House and the Senate. And then once the president's signature appears on the bill, boom, it becomes law. So now think of it as if the first step is done, the second step will take 2 to 3 weeks. And then once the president signs it, that's when it becomes law. Here's a quote from your favorite senator, Bernie Sanders, the Senate Budget Committee Chairman, Bernie Sanders. He said, "With the passage of this resolution, we have the opportunity not only to address the pandemic, to address the economic collapse, to address the reality that millions of kids have seen their education disrupted. We have the opportunity to give hope to the American people and restore faith in our government to fight for them." Yeah, I mean, kids have had their education disrupted. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they aren't going to school, so that's not nice. That's not good. We're not sending them to school. I don't even know when my wife and I will send them to school. We have to figure that out. Okay. The Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said This is not the time for trillions more dollars to make perpetual lockdowns and economic decline a little more palatable. I'm going to repeat that. This is not the time for trillions more dollars to make perpetual lockdowns and economic decline a little bit more palatable. Strong comments. He said, notwithstanding the actual needs, notwithstanding all the talk about bipartisan unity, Democrats in Congress are plowing ahead. The Republicans are like, you're leaving us behind. All right. They're using this phony budget to set the table to ram through their $1.9 trillion rough draft. Oh, strong comments, folks. Guys, there is no chance that the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, would have approved 1.9. Zero chance. They didn't even approve it when they weren't even going to support it when former President Trump and the U.S. Treasury Secretary proposed that to House Speaker Pelosi. Remember those days? I was with you through those days, and I covered that in detail. So, and I have done another video on why I think big stimulus needs to happen now. I actually released that video this morning. I've done another video on why I think that targeting shouldn't happen, because the Republicans ain't gonna support it. So a bunch of amendments were put forward, folks. So there is going to be narrowing of the stimulus. It looks like that based on the Manchin-Collins amendment, which received overwhelming support, 99 for, 1 against, which means again that those who get the $1,400 stimulus checks, this isn't confirmed yet, but this is going to be, we'll know in about 3 weeks. If you're making more than $50,000 as a single filer, and more than $75,000 as a head of household, more than $100,000 as a couple, based on your most recent tax returns. In case you're wondering, is it 2019 or is it 2020? Most recent. For most of us, we have 2019 tax returns filed. And for most of us, we haven't filed 2020 yet. I haven't filed my 2020 tax returns yet. So let's see. So there were some amendments. Roy Blunt, the Republican from Missouri, proposed an amendment to bar funding from schools that have not reopened once teachers have been vaccinated. That failed. Todd Young from Indiana offered an amendment to block stimulus payments to undocumented immigrants. It passed. It passed with 8 Democrats voting in favor of it. The Senate did approve 99-1 an amendment led by Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, and Susan Collins, the Republican from Maine, to ensure that, I quote, upper income taxpayers do not receive stimulus payments. Now, the measure did not define upper income. That's super interesting. It did not define upper income. But it did establish certain thresholds, 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, respectively, for single filers, head of households, and married filing jointly. So that was interesting. And the exact threshold, folks, is not final, but it looks like there will be a threshold. The threshold may end up being 60,000. 80,000, 110. We don't know yet. We'll find out. But that threshold is going to be worked upon, because that will result in either a savings or an expense of tens of billions of dollars. The original Biden plan, which proposed the $75,000 single income filer, $150,000 married filer limit, cost $465 billion as far as stimulus checks were concerned, out of the full $1.9 trillion. The amended, let's say we lower the threshold from 75,000 to 150. Let's say we lower the threshold from 75,000 to 50,000 for single, and we lower the threshold from 150,000 to 100,000 for married. That would reduce the cost of the stimulus checks from 465 billion down to 420 billion. Why? Because a majority of these checks are going to individuals who earn less than 50,000, which is a majority. Of taxpayers, which is interesting, that we should even be having this discussion. I mean, I think the goal should be not to delay anymore and just get the money out. And I have talked about that. I have done another video on our channel, essentially talking about why I don't think the stimulus checks should be targeted. So you guys can check that out on our channel. So there were some other. Joni Ernst from Iowa, she advanced an amendment saying that the federal minimum wage should not be raised during the pandemic. And Sanders agreed with her. Folks, check this out. Sanders agreed with her because his plan, which is in the $1.9 trillion Biden proposal, raises the minimum wage to $15 an hour over 5 years. So Ernst's amendment passed. Basically, Ernst was saying, don't raise it right now. And Sanders was like, yeah, we're not going to raise it right now. We'll raise it over 5 years. Whether the $15 an hour minimum wage actually gets raised over 5 years is unlikely, because Joe Manchin, the conservative Democrat from West Virginia, said he's not in favor of it. And Democrats can't afford to lose a single vote, everyone. and so there's a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Give me one moment, folks. I have one more thing to report to you. I do want our viewers and subscribers to know that the $1,400 stimulus checks will most likely be scaled back, everyone. Okay, they will most likely be scaled back, and a lot of people are saying that the $15 now minimum wage is unlikely to happen. Okay, because because there are certain provisions that may have to be struck down from this one. Folks, think of this $1.9 trillion plan as a wish list. Not all the wish list items will make it through because certain provisions that don't have an impact on the federal budget. Remember, this is budget reconciliation. There are certain provisions that don't have an impact on the federal budget can be struck down from the legislation. Now, let me be clear. Federal minimum wage hike affects the federal budget. So if the president says $15 an hour minimum wage for federal workers, that is going to get through because that corresponds to the federal budget. But when it comes to telling companies, private companies, that you have to pay $15 an hour minimum wage, that has nothing to do with the federal budget. Therefore, it could be struck down. Okay, so I just want our viewers and subscribers to know that. We'll know exactly what happens in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I want to remind our viewers that Republicans did use the budget reconciliation process to pass a huge tax cut of over $2 trillion at the start of the Trump administration. And so that is something that they have used in the past. As far as this current proposal is concerned, it looks like some Democrats want this is interesting, folks. Some Democrats want a standalone bill focusing on vaccine production and distribution before turning to the massive package. And basically, they are like, look, we need money for vaccine distribution now. Let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Let's do the other thing later. And President Biden said, we are not breaking up the relief package. They are like, let's do vaccine distribution now. President Biden says, no way, no way. So that is that is what is going on right now. And folks, just to give everyone an update, again, let me remind you that this morning at 5:35 a.m. East Coast time, in case you're just joining us, at 5:35 a.m. East Coast time this morning, after 15 hours of debate, and Vice President Kamala Harris showed up. She cast a tie-breaking vote. And again, we have a bunch of senators, many of them in their 80s, debated for over 15 hours. Okay, the new Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said this on the floor of the Senate because it's been a month since the Democrats won Georgia. He said, I quote, this is the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Just a month from that day, meaning when the Democrats won Georgia, we have taken a giant step to fulfill our promise. So that's what's that's what's going on. And as far as the American Rescue Plan is concerned, folks, it looks like it could pass by the middle of March, most components of it, but we'll know as we go along. And as far as the process is concerned, like I mentioned, there's the House Committee, the Budget Committee, the Rules Committee. I did mention that at the start of the video. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for the bill to become drafted, and then that process takes 2 to 3 weeks because these committees start working on it and they kick it up. House Committee, Budget Committee, Rules Committee. So for the next 2 weeks, there are no votes scheduled on the floor of the House. The House Committee works, kicks it to the Budget Committee the following week, 3rd week of February. And then the Budget Committee works on it and kicks it to the Rules Committee. And then the Rules Committee then prepares a final version of the bill, puts it on the floor of the House debates, votes on it. Then it goes to the Senate, they vote on it. This will probably happen at the end of this month or first week of March. And the idea is to get the president to sign it right before the 14th of March when the unemployment benefits expire. It looks like, folks, we'll have $400 a week booster through September. It does look like that because that's the provision. That's a provision in here, folks. So that is a detailed update, folks. The March 14 deadline is tough. It's quite tough, but it is possible. It is possible. It is entirely possible that all of this goes according to plan. It is also possible that some big components, like the $15 an hour minimum wage, get struck down. But the cornerstone components, which for you include the $1,400 stimulus checks, the extension of unemployment, I would start to breathe easy right now. If I were you, I would start to breathe easy. I would start to, help yourself to a cup of coffee, go for a walk, and feel good because it's looking good. It's looking good. Don't celebrate yet. Don't fall victim to the hype on the internet that stimulus check passed. Nothing's passed yet. Folks, this is a package which is now going to, through the process of budget reconciliation, become a bill in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, again, this is a package that through the parliamentary process of budget resolution, which is quite boring, I haven't gone too deep into it, but now that the budget resolution has passed, like I mentioned, House Committee, Budget Committee, Rules Committee, this is a package, a proposal, a plan. It's a package, a proposal, a plan, the American Rescue Plan. It's not the American Rescue Bill, it's the American Rescue Plan. This is a package, a proposal, a plan that through the process of budget reconciliation is going to become a bill, an actual bill in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Then that bill will need to get enough support by in the House and the Senate. And by the way, all the Democrats will vote for it. The Republicans will say, eh. All the Republicans will go on television and complain about the fiscal deficit. Expect this to happen. And then once the Democrats pass it, it's going to reach the desk of the president in the first week of March. It might reach the president in the second week of March, depending on all the stalling tactics that emerge in the next 2 3 weeks. But at this moment in time, I would say feel confident about $1,400 stimulus checks. The exact threshold, like I mentioned earlier, is being worked on. But feel confident about the $1,400 stimulus checks. Feel confident about the unemployment benefits. Don't feel so confident about the $15 an hour minimum wage, although that will happen for federal workers. The good thing also, folks, which is important for our country, is that money for vaccine testing distribution is going to be sent out, which is super important, folks. That is very, very important. I'm hoping that happens. And while we are on this subject, folks, I do want to point out a couple of other things. Give me just a moment so I can point that out for our folks now. Jason Furman, folks. This is okay. I have some new information for you, folks. While I have you all here, just a moment, everyone. A former Obama economist, Austin Goolsbee, said this on the recent jobs report numbers that came out. We now have 3 disappointing months in a row. We have to admit we've stalled out. There is a danger of a double dip recession. So there are concerns, folks, about a double dip recession. And okay, you guys are going to like this. The Trump economic advisor, Stephen Moore, called Jeff Stein from the Washington Post. This just happened in the last few minutes. And Moore disputed the negative economic reading. And he said, and I'm quoting Stephen Moore, he said something to Jeff Stein. He said, Trump has handed the football off to Biden of an economy that is ready to rumble. Yeah, this should have been the headline of a new video. Handling the football. Okay, Stephen Moore, an economic advisor to President Trump, said to Jeff Stein from the Washington Post, Trump has handed the football off to Biden of an economy that's ready to rumble. Do you think the economy is ready to rumble? Let me know in the comment section below if you think the economy is ready to rumble. And people are concerned about the unemployment rate. And so, folks, so what's happening right now is that the unemployment rate numbers just came out. I'll be covering those in a separate video. But folks, right now what's happening is, like I said, the Senate passed out the budget resolution. But here's something interesting. Folks, Marco Rubio came out swinging against Romney's child credits. He said, we do not support turning the child credit into a child allowance paid out as a universal basic income. This is not tax relief for working parents. It is welfare assistance. And it looked like Rubio was going to back Romney's plan, but it doesn't look like it. So, folks, a lot of interesting sort of semantics emerging right now. And so there are a lot of semantics emerging. There is one more thing I do. One member of the Problem Solvers Caucus, folks, did say that he wanted to split up. He wanted to split up the entire stimulus package and do it in small segments. So that is also what was going on. So, folks, this in a nutshell is all your early morning news. I hope you learned something new. I am going to be covering some other important updates coming up on our channel. Let's see. That is pretty much the highlight, everyone. I hope you learned something new. I appreciate you all. Listen, all I ask of you is you please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Let me give you the bottom line. The bottom line is feel encouraged, feel good. This is a proposal that over the next 2 to 3 weeks will become a bill, and it will be signed into law by the president because the Democrats have enough votes in the House and they have enough votes in the Senate thanks to the tie-breaking vote from Vice President Kamala Harris. She cast her first tie-breaking vote this morning at right around 5 a.m. The Vice President showed up in the Senate right around 5 a.m. after a 15-hour all-nighter debate. Okay, they were talking about the amendments. It's vote-a-rama, and like I said, a lot of these senators are 80 plus years old. So guys, let's take a step back. Let's at least look at the bright side that this is moving along fairly quickly. Our government works in its strange, slow ways, but it does work. And there's look, everything's about politics, but things are moving forward, and the people elected a razor thin Democratic majority, and the people are getting the outcome of that razor thin Democratic majority. Hopefully, the Democrats can listen to the Republicans, and we get the best ideas from both sides, and that is where things stand. So, folks, that is my update for this morning. I want you to know that I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I will keep you posted on important news, but it does look like we are on the right track right now. Although this is going to take a few weeks to play out. I appreciate you all. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. I really appreciate you all. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would help out the YouTube algorithm. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.